I've just finished one of the most important and interesting interviews I've brought to my community to date. If you are wanting to understand the Charlie Kirk autopsy, the medical examiner report, the ballistics, the forensics, I've brought on a guest to help answer questions that millions and millions of us have. It's seriously one of the best and most important interviews I've ever done. Please, if you could, give this video a like and share it. I know that people you know are going to want to hear these answers. It's a great interview. I hope you enjoy it. Many of us are still trying to wrap our heads around Charlie Kirk being gone. We're getting information about the damage to his neck, the bullet, the shooting. So many new data points are coming out. To help me go through what it was like to do the autopsy, what might have happened with his body. Was he gone immediately? I have Lauren, the mortician. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I appreciate you coming on. Lauren has her own YouTube channel where she goes through information about autopsies and coroner reports and things that she's seen. I'll put a link so that people can find that very easily. I wanted to have you on because obviously I'm not a mortician, and there was all this information going around on social media. There was no autopsy, no autopsy. Someone put out this clip, and my best guess was it was either AI or it happened earlier in the day, and whoever this dispatch person was didn't know that there was an autopsy. Now we know for a fact there's an autopsy. There was new documents out today saying that the medical examiner's report is pending the upcoming trial. Based on the injury that you saw as somebody that's around death and bodies, what was your initial reaction to this gunshot wound?
Oh, I think we all saw the footage by now, right? And when I saw that footage, in my heart of hearts, I knew that it was very instant for Charlie Kirk. You know, I'm not a doctor. I do death. But just to see him slump over like that and how quickly everything happened and all of everything that went down, I've seen a lot of trauma to the body. And to me, in my heart, I knew that was pretty instant for him.
Yeah. And honestly, we talked about this off camera. We're both grateful. Like, I would not want him to suffer for hours and hours until his inevitable passing. But, you know, there was this rumor going around that there was no autopsy, no coroner report, no medical examiner. They literally just released his body, and this whole thing's being a cover up. I had a feeling based on the laws in Utah that there was one. What led you to believe the now confirmed autopsy took place?
So for many years, I have done the job that the medical examiner, the transporter, I have been there for that job. And in the United States, any suspected homicide legally requires a coroner or a medical examiner autopsy. And so having been hands-on with that job for so many years, been to homicides, suicides, car accidents myself personally, and done the transports, when I saw that information that had come out that said he did not have an autopsy, I knew it was wrong. And actually, it's kind of what made me pay a lot more attention to this, because when word spreads like that, it needs clarification, especially to the public where they don't do death every day. And this was so public. Everyone saw what happened to him and Charlie Kirk's assassination. And I just immediately hopped on and thought, this needs clarification. And if there was no autopsy, this needs to be talked about, because that would not have been right.
Okay. Yeah. For you would have been like, whoa, like the law was broken, right?
Yeah. I would have been like, okay, where's my tinfoil hat? I'm putting it on immediately, because this is not right. And I'm going to scream it from the mountaintop. But thankfully, I did have somebody from the medical examiner's office reach out to me. They wanted to stay anonymous. I did verify first, last name, was able to pull up articles to confirm that this person is who they say they are. And they thanked me for my video and said that he did 100% have an autopsy. So that made me feel a little bit better, because I thought I was going crazy over here thinking, this isn't right. This is if this audio is correct, which I don't think it is, because this would not be proper protocol. We need to talk about this. And so I was very, very grateful that they reached out and that they said something. But then at the same time, I really encouraged them to call the office and make a public statement, say something. You know, this audio is going around. You know, people are wondering what is going on. And I just really wish that they would have acted a little bit sooner on it. I mean, the governor of Utah, the medical examiner's office, I mean, they do this a lot. And if there's some sort of rumor going around, it could have been cleared up right away, but they chose not to. And I don't understand why.
Yeah. Now there's like a million rumors.
Yeah, now there's more. Now
Yeah.
there's more, because now the public's general trust isn't, it's wavering. It's like, why aren't we being given this information? We all watched Charlie Kirk die in such a horrible and traumatic and public way. Not that the public is owed anything, but at the same time, we kind of are, because we are all emotionally invested, and this never should have happened. So I get everybody's on a learning curve and everybody's trying to figure out what to do, but at the same time, they know better. The medical examiner's office should have come out immediately, and I am disappointed that they did not.
Okay, I appreciate that insight. I heard somebody a couple of days ago that said no amount of iPhone video footage is replacement for good forensic science. So I figured there was a medical exam. I mean, how else would we have known the extent of the damage to the neck, where they found the bullet, the fragments, things like that? So with your experience with bodies and exams, what would have happened from the time he was pronounced deceased? How long until the examiner or the autopsy people take possession of the body, and then what would have been their first moves with figuring out the cause of death and the damage and looking for that bullet?
So this is a very high profile case, as you can imagine, and I got a lot of questions on the time frame, because people want to know, how was he picked up so fast? How was he autopsied so fast? And how was he embalmed so quickly? And the truth of the matter is that they probably called the pathologist and called the team and said, we need you in here ASAP. We have the president on the phone. We have the vice president on the phone. They want this done now, and we need to move quickly. So my assumption is that everybody went into the office immediately, because for how quick of a turnaround time this was, they needed this done right away. So I think that once they left that hospital, and you can see the procession of the vehicles, I don't know if you've seen that video.
Yes.
But from experience, I know Charlie Kirk was in that black minivan, because that was a funeral home removal van, followed by the medical examiner, escorted back to the office directly, which normally the medical examiner will just go home. But I think that this report needed to be written immediately. All the paperwork, all the documentation went straight for autopsy. And then the funeral home was contacted probably during that time, and pickup was done either almost immediately or right away in the morning. If autopsy was not done the same night, which in my heart of hearts, I believe it was, his would have been the first one in the morning. And as soon as the procedure is done, the whole medical procedure is done, we can pick up at the funeral home. I think that's something people don't quite understand, is that we coordinate directly with the investigator, directly with the medical examiner's office. And once that autopsy is done and they've collected the evidence that they need to from the body, it can take a couple hours, but we can be there immediately. I've had where they go right from the table right to my cot, and then we load them in the van, and we bring them right back to the funeral home, and we begin the embalming almost immediately.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Okay. You made a really great point. The president of the United States, who loves Charlie Kirk, is saying, we want answers now. The governor is saying, we want answers now. But you have the law where it's like, this is a homicide. There must be an autopsy. And correct me if I'm wrong, you can't put a deceased body on an airplane if it's not embalmed. Is that correct?
So that is, it is highly encouraged to do embalming. So you have to think about when the body goes through a autopsy, that we have a full medical work through with the Y incision, organs are removed. There is a cranial exam where the brain is also extracted. And when that happens, the body is now open and exposed to the elements, which can then speed up decomposition. So when decomposition starts to speed up, and if we have family that really wants to have that final closure and say goodbye to their loved one more time, which we did have here, that embalming needs to happen right away. The sooner the better. The sooner we can embalm and get the blood is actually the fastest part of your body that decomposes, but when you have everything open to the elements, we need to close it up, we need to preserve, disinfect, and really get the embalming going right away.
Okay.
But your question was about the airplane. He was, I saw a lot of commenters say, oh, they didn't embalm him before they shipped him. That is not true. 100% they had to have embalmed him. You're not going to put an unembalmed body in a casket that nice and then put him on an airplane right around the family as well. I mean, they put the casket right in there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for liability, we don't want anything to be, not to be too morbid, but this is death. Things can leak, things can move around, especially during flight. So embalming would be 100% encouraged.
Okay. We don't have the autopsy report. As I said, there's new court documents out today. It even says the medical examiner report is pending. Now, they're probably holding that information back from the public on purpose. We don't necessarily know why, but my understanding from speaking with a couple of people high up at Turning Point USA, they let me know that the injury took place right below the jaw in the C2. The bullet crashed through C2 all the way through C7. And then they found the bullet lodged in that meaty area around T1, the thoracic first vertebrae. What would the autopsy look like? Would they be trying to follow the path of the bullet? Would they be doing X-rays to find the bullet, or a metal detector? What does that look like in the event of a gunshot wound?
So when they bring the body back, they do an external exam. They take pictures. They do all the documenting that they can before they do the internal exam. And what that involves, there's no metal detectors, but they do X-rays of the body that will reveal bullets, fragments, and trajectory before they do the dissection.
Okay.
Metal detectors are just too crude compared to imaging. We really want the imaging, especially in a murder investigation.
Would X-ray have been the main imaging? Because I would assume they avoid MRI because of metal, but is X-ray the number one?
Yes. Yep. And when you X-ray the body, it can also be helpful to them before they do any sort of dissection to know what they're looking for and where about the location of the wound and the fragments might be.
Okay. That was going to be my next question is, this idea of all these destroyed vertebrae, all of that would have shown up on the X-ray before they make an incision?
Yes. Yep. And the bone fractures for sure.
Okay. And then, so the body is taken in, they do an X-ray, that bullet and the fragments that I've heard about, those would have been really shiny on the film, so they would know right where they were?
Yep. They would know right where they were so that they could remove them. And then they'll also use that imaging for evidence as well. Especially in a case like this where we have everyone questioning where the bullet came from, where the shot took place. Was it from behind him? Was it in front of him? There's a lot of conspiracy thoughts. I hate to say the word conspiracy because I think people are they have big thoughts and big opinions and they just want to express them. And we're not being given a whole lot of answers at this time. So understandably, they have thoughts. So one thing I wanted to bring up to you, I didn't know if you know this, but Utah is actually one of the very few states that they don't have to release public records about autopsies.
Oh, okay.
So they could cherry pick what gets released. So if you have a contact at Turning Point USA, that might be the. I also have someone who sent me a message from Fox, and they have already tried to request autopsy documentation, and they were told no, that in the state of Utah, they do not release them to the public. So if we get information during the trial, or if whatever Turning Point USA decides to release, that will be the extent of what the public is given.
Let me ask you something. How much time do you spend every day on a web browser? How much time do you spend clicking, searching around, scrolling, typing, endless tabs? It's a lot, right? Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity called Comet. And that is completely changing the way that you interact with your web browser. Using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet. That's right, it can do things, not just get you answers. You can ask Comet to handle tasks for you, and it literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls like you would to get things done for you in the background while you go about your day. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. Let me give you an example. I'm about to go on a business trip to Tampa. So I've asked it to find me the best Mexican restaurants in the area. I want them to have a reservation, good reviews, and they have to have Diet Coke. Well, it found the one that I'm planning to go to. It set up the reservation and it's dumped it over to my calendar. You can use Perplexity and Comet to book fun things with your kids or grandkids, or buy things and send it to them. It's really quite amazing. Pretty cool, right? Download Perplexity's new AI web browser, Comet, by heading to pplx.ai/Gardner and let your browser work for you. Plus, right now, when you download Comet, you get a month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/Gardner. Go check it out right now. I'll leave a link down below. Going back to something you said earlier, Lauren, you said not only would the imaging be used for ballistics and understanding the damage and the crime and the angle and the trajectory, but would they then try to follow the path of the bullet? Help from a criminal, what's the word? Criminology standpoint. I don't know what the right word is, but understanding the crime. How do they go about that? Like the imaging shows where the damage to the body is. It follows the path of the bullet.
Yep. So they'll bring in they'll do a trajectory analysis, is what it's called. So they trace the bullet path through the tissue. They may insert probes or rods so that they can get a definite, where did this shot originate from? They go over the body with a fine-tooth comb, essentially, and that can involve those rods that you've probably seen on television, right, where they map out where the shooter could have been and the angle at which it came from. So that is all going to be determined by the autopsy, which is why I really hope and I really encourage, I don't know if someone will see this video from the medical examiner's office, but I think that if they released that information, even though I know they're not supposed to, or if Turning Point decided to shut down the rumors on, was there more than one shooter? Was there more? If they don't release that information to the public, I think it's just going to cause more unrest because people have theories and they want to know what happened.
Okay. So going back to those rods, this is the story we're being told. Occam's razor says the simplest answer is probably the most correct. Our understanding is Tyler Robinson or somebody on a roof at a high angle, but over to the side, 7 or 8 feet, but then you go back 149 yards. That bullet, you would think it would go through the meat of the neck and blast out the backside, but coming from a downward and then an angle, I hope I'm showing this right on camera, that bullet would have come in at an angle, and they're saying it crashed right into C2. Have you seen anything like that before, or is this kind of a unique situation?
This is definitely unique. When I initially saw that he had been hit in the neck, my heart had kind of told me that was intentional, because when I have had murder cases that I have personally worked, a lot of times you're going to find bullet wounds in the chest area because it's a much larger area that people are aiming point blank for. Head wounds I've seen, they're normally upward direction. For YouTube community guidelines, don't want to say that word, but yep, in an upward. And I have not seen a neck wound quite like this one. It's definitely unique, and I really hope that they take the extra time that's needed to trace the path of which it came from, for sure.
Okay. I did some analysis. I've had other people say this to me, but okay, so the bullet comes in, it has to expend a large amount of energy in like a fraction of a second. You see Charlie's shirt go up, you see his neck and chest bulge, his chain with a cross snaps around his neck. Would that energy be the reason his heart was destroyed and the blood isn't squirting, but rather it's kind of coming out almost like a fountain?
Yeah, it shredded everything. In my opinion, it shredded everything. And so when that happens, the body is a closed system. And when you shred the veins or the arteries, it will just pour out. And that's how I knew that there was no way they were going to save him. That along with the body language. But when that closed system is disrupted in such a way as it was for Charlie Kirk, the blood will just pour, and it will pour, and it'll only take a minute. And you can tell by the coloring how quickly it poured out. It was over pretty much initially, right as it happened.
Okay. Wow. These things are hard to talk about, but
they're important to talk about. It makes people uncomfortable, but this never should have happened. And in order to prevent something like this happening again, we should be talking about it.
I agree. Well said. That's what I was trying to communicate, because it brings me no joy to talk about these, especially where, you know, I interviewed Charlie a couple of times, and I know his wife is struggling with this. You know, I would say 100 million people watch this man be killed. It's probably we've never seen anybody killed like this in history because of just all of the cameras and all of that. But okay, so the exam then, I'm assuming during the trial, whether they show it to the public or not, there's going to be a lot of photography of his body from the autopsy, both externally and as they get deeper into his body.
Yes, there will be. A lot of states have very strict rules on photography of autopsies and releasing that information. I don't think we as the general public will ever see that unless somehow horribly it were to be leaked. I don't think that the general public needs to see that. But there will be imaging that was taken of his body externally, internally, and with the x-rays. They're going to have ballistic experts there 100% because they need people to build this case against Tyler Robinson or whoever if there's anybody else involved, they have to build their case to show without a doubt that this shot came from him.
Okay. What about, I was going to say, in addition to this, Turning Point USA, they had 3 cameras, at least 3 4K cameras on Charlie from the back, the
Wow.
back side, and the front. All of those captured this horrible scene in 4K. I personally don't believe this will be shown to the public, but would that help with them understanding the injuries and the bodily damage?
Yeah, yes, it would, 100%. And a lot of questions I got were, why would Charlie Kirk need an autopsy if we have him dying in 4K on camera and everybody saw it? Why would he need an autopsy? And even when something is filmed like that, the autopsy team will still watch the footage. So they will have wanted and requested that 4K footage as evidence. So I know that there was footage of a guy going and taking it down, and I do hope that that was collected for them, because they're going to be asking for it. Even the footage that went viral that got uploaded, they're going to watch all the different angles to make sure with 100% certainty that they can testify to the damage that was done, to how it ended his life. And it is a step-by-step process, but even though there's footage, they still have to do the full exam from the head all the way down, because they have to, and they also take, they do blood work. They see if there's any other, anything else in the body before that were to happen. And that's actually the part that can take the longest for autopsy results, is the blood work. And that can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. In a case like this, I think they're going to have the results sooner, but we probably won't know that as the public.
Okay. Yeah. I figure a lot of this is probably being held close to the vest, because they're now trying to prosecute. They believe that they know what has happened. I saw a picture of Erica Kirk next to Charlie's body. He was in a coffin. It's kind of zoomed in, just showing his hands. How would they have put him back together to make him look presentable if this were to be an open casket situation?
So there is a lot of swelling that can happen after, I really only saw the footage of as it happened, and so I didn't personally get to see the after effects. But just based on what I could see and how much I was able to zoom in, because this is my job, this is what I do, and I like to think how I would have handled something like this as an embalmer. And there were some things that, fortunately for the family and the embalmer, where the injury occurred is on the non-viewing side of the casket. So when Erica walked up to the casket, I'm sure her eyes did go for that area naturally, but you would have to look for it. So that the embalmer did have that going for them, but because it wasn't a through and through, that might have made it a little bit easier for them to embalm the area, unless the autopsy team felt the need to fully dissect the area, which they could have. And when that happens, depending on the damage to the tissue around the neck and around the wound, we may need to fill it with tissue, with wax, with some sort of builder to reshape the neck so it looks again like a normal neck. And then we have certain sutures we can use to hide the opening, hide the incisions, and then we can use wax and then cosmetics. Based on how his hands looked in the casket, I was a little disappointed, only because he did look quite orange. The hands did look a little discolored, understandably. I mean, Charlie Kirk is no longer with us. So when I see the rumors of he's still alive, I looked at the photos of him in the casket and I could see his hands. And after now seeing all of the videos I have of him, those are his hands. I don't know how people can say otherwise, because you can tell I pay a lot of attention to detail. A lot of this job is art, it's attention to detail. And you can tell that those are his hands, his knuckles, his fingernails. You can even see down to that close of detail. And it's him. I think that the embalmer would have had to have spent a lot of extra time on the neck area, but it was definitely doable for an open casket.
Okay. I've never done an interview like this. Are there any questions that I haven't asked that would provoke information from you that you think my audience would benefit from hearing?
You know, another big question I get is what happened to his body?
Okay. Yes. What happened to his body?
We haven't been given any information for that, and understandably so, because there are a lot of crazy people out there, and the family probably doesn't want us to know where he's buried, at least at this time. I don't think his body has been hanging around at a funeral home somewhere, because I believe that they had Secret Service there, or they had people monitoring the situation to make sure nobody would go in and vandalize the funeral home or his body. Um, I don't think that they cremated him, but I do believe that they had a private family burial. I think it was probably almost immediate after they had the viewing, and they might have even done it in the middle of the night so they couldn't be followed, or at some point when the press had died down, they they just went ahead and they did that. And I'm glad that I hope that that's how it went. I'm glad that they got that moment of privacy to be with their family to do that. But a lot of people wonder where he is now. I think maybe we'll get answers to that at some point, but people just need to be patient.
Yeah. Okay. Lauren, thank you so much for spending time helping me better understand this. If you guys are interested in what she does, she walks through famous cases, big stories in the news, what it's like from start to finish to deal with different aspects of death. So I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to put a direct link so that people can find you very easily. I wish you success with your YouTube channel. Thank you again for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. I was really honored to be here. Thank you so much.